there are multiple reasons that we are here today, and I'm going to go over those in the next couple of slides. But last week was just for students, or mostly for students, to give students a safe space to be able to process and learn from each other about all of the turmoil that was going on in the world, but in Chicago and in our own lives as well. So Ariel and I are both here to welcome you. She's going to be running the whole thing, and I am here just to kind of get us started so that you all know the structure and the expectations for today's conversation. So really quick, Deja's trying to get on and it says wrong code. So I'm gonna share the information with Martha so that Martha can handle this while I do this. Hold on. Pause. Sorry, everybody. We're trying to get our...
Sorry, guys. I'm emailing with her. I tried to give her the right one. I think she was trying to get on Zoom, not Google Meets.
Okay. I just sent you her message, her text, her cell phone. Thank you. Okay. So some brief reflections and highlights from the first town hall. We did a lot of defining. We did a lot of sharing. Those of us who are of color sharing how we feel, but more specifically, how our Black students at Alcott are feeling. Today's framing is part 2 because eventually we're all going to be back to school, right? And we're all going to have to share our space again. And I want to ensure that Alcott is your second home. And I want to ensure that it's a safe space, both physically as well as emotionally. So today's theme is going to be about how we can all be allies to our Black students. And I'm convinced that in doing so, we will also end up being allies for each other in our own areas where we need support. So that's why we're here today, to build off of last week's conversation and hearing from everybody. So again, just a reminder to mute your microphones. If you have questions, please put those questions in the chat. And in order to ensure an equity of voice, we ask that you please let 3 people go before you share again. Last week, we kind of broke those rules a little bit because people really wanted to share, and that's okay. But we're going to ask that you please be aware, especially if you've gone a couple of times and there's someone else who wants to share. We also ask that you keep it your contributions to about 2 minutes, as to not take up too much time and allow others to speak. And then finally, we are all here together today to learn from each other. So it is possible today that somebody is going to misspeak or say something wrong. I'm going to ask that those of us who are aware, right, that what that person is saying might need some finessing, that we are kind in our responses, and that if you say something that's wrong and we respond to you, the fact that you're here means that you want to learn more and you want to know more and you want to do more. And please don't be overly sensitive to our corrections, because this is all new. We're all learning and doing this together. So if we try to either correct you or clarify something or whatever it might be, please, we will assume that you have the best intentions, and we ask that you know that we have the best intentions. So those are our reminders and why we're here today. So what we hope to accomplish is that that we build our knowledge of what the Black Lives Matter means, the movement means, as well as issues related to it. We also want to create and build and develop a community of allies who are here to support us. We are also want to be able to share resources, not just for learning, in addition to learning, but also for action, things that we can do. Because once people are aware of the injustices of the world, then I pray that their next question is, okay, so now what? What can I do to help? And so that's what we hope to accomplish today. We also want to hear from both current students as well as alumni. They're all female, so that would be alumni. So what that means is that if you have a question or something that you want to share, you may. We just ask that you put it in the chat so that we can call on you. And so even though I've been talking at you for the past 2 minutes, it's not going to be a lecture. This is a place for all of us to hear everyone. So these are a couple of our expectations. We want to maintain respectful dialogue. Dialogue means a conversation, going back and forth, and listening to each other. And so in order to maintain a respectful dialogue, you have to first stop and listen to what the other person has to say. Please be aware of your own potential biases. And what that means is either your color or your gender or where you're raised or whatever it might be. Please be aware that you might hold a certain perspective that will block you from being able to hear the other person. So that's why we're asking you to really focus in on listening. And then finally, there might be some things today, guys, that you're just not going to get, and that's okay. Because a lot of the stuff that we're talking about right now, like I, as a 45-year-old woman, have been years in the understanding and trying to get to. So the fact that you are here is wonderful. Focus on growing, changing, and having positive actions. Please don't focus on the fact that, there are things that you don't know about yet. We're all here together. We're going to get through it together. And so I just want to remind everyone to kind of lead with your heart and just focus on growing and changing. Okay? All right. I am handing it off to Ariel.
Hello, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well. For today, we will hear from Alcott alumni and current students and staff. So we have Cameron and Deja. We will hear from Mr. Baez talking about his experience working with Mike Brown's family. We will hear from Mr. Beck, Ms. Gonzalez, and Frida, Mariana, and Natalie. Our first question, we took 3 questions from last week just to recap and give others a chance to answer. So what is the Black Lives Matter movement? And we will first be hearing from Frida Hernandez.
Hi. So I think that the Black Lives Matter movement is honestly just people being tired of the oppression that people of color or Black people have been going through for the past 500 years, and they're so over it, and they shouldn't be having to fight for their justice, and they're so over it. So this is what they're trying to do. And the Black Lives Matter movement is to bring awareness to their oppression. Yep. That's it.
Thank you. And Ariel, can I pause for 1 second?
Yeah.
We want to make sure, we want to record this. Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Shanovich is recording. So this is just an announcement that we're currently recording. So for all people who are participating, thank you, welcome. But we are recording, okay? Thank you.
Yes, our alumni panelists are having trouble connecting. So for right now, are there any current students or staff who want to answer this question? Type it in the chat.
Also, Ariel, they just got on.
They did?
Yeah, the couple of panelists just got on a second ago, so let's welcome them. Thanks.
Okay, great. Welcome, Cameron and Deja.
Thanks.
We are discussing right now what is the Black Lives Matter movement. So can we first hear from Cameron?
Okay, just kidding. My microphone was off. Sorry.
You're good.
So the Black Lives Matter movement is essentially, if we're getting down to the basis of what it truly is, it's the idea of actually acknowledging that no matter in what shape or form that we come in, that the lives of Black matters, like they do matter and that they do exist. So I would just say, to me personally, it's getting people informed of why we are so important and why our people are being mistreated the way that they are treated. I didn't know if anyone else wanted to chime in.
Thank you. Yeah, can we hear from Deja?
Okay. Hey everybody. To me, what I feel as though the Black Lives Matter movement is basically a movement towards like the systematic oppression and everything that African American people are going through and have been going through. It's more of just it's not just a protest or it's not just riots. It's the knowing of just information, period. It's a lot of information that people tend to not know or feel like they don't have access to when it's out there for any and everybody to know. And I just feel like it's more than just a protest and a riot. It's just informing everybody around us.
Thank you. Are there any current students who want to answer? We are encouraging everyone to speak. No. Okay, can we move on to the next one?
Ma'am.
What is a racism pandemic? So this question is open for anyone to answer. There are no selected panelists right now. So does anyone want to answer this question? Okay. I think we're good, Ms. Woody. I think we can go to the next one.
Okay. So we did define it last week, right?
Yeah, we defined it last week.
And what was that definition from last week? Do you remember?
I'm sorry. My headphone fell out.
No, it's okay.
Last week we were saying that racism. We talked about where it started, and a lot of people said that it starts in the home, and it can also come from your peers, and you adapt to their way of thinking. And so when you spread your, wrong beliefs onto others, and then it just spreads throughout the world. That's mainly what the student said.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. What is your response to the current uprisings? Yes, let's tackle this one. Can we first hear from Frida?
My response to the uprising is I think it's amazing how everyone's getting together right now and talking about this movement. And a lot of more people are getting educated about what's happening right now. And I think it's great. It's not just the United States right now talking about the Black Lives Matter movement. And a lot of people are getting educated on this situation. And I think it's great.
Thank you. Can we hear from Natalie Delgado?
Hi, everyone. With this uprising, I feel like it had to happen. I'm glad it happened. But in the other hand, I also feel like a lot of people have a misconception about it. I'm seeing this a lot with young people because that's all I have on social media. Like a lot of people think they just want to riot and destroy the city or whatever. But I feel like it had to happen because for many years their voices haven't been heard, and I'm just glad like they're spreading a lot of awareness and it's happening. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Natalie. Yeah, I agree with that. I'm seeing a lot of young people talk about it. And I think because we're more easily influenced by the media. But yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Can we hear from Cameron next?
I personally, and this, I don't want anyone to feel like, I'm for just everything that's happening, but I personally think that it's been a long time coming. I see a lot of people, are upset, are like, certain people are ruining their neighborhoods. And I just feel like if you really break it down, none of this stuff belongs to us. Like some of these big corporations coming in our neighborhoods, that stuff isn't our stuff. That isn't things that belong to us necessarily. We don't have anything that we can call our own. People are angry. Like people are, and angry is an understatement, because I just feel like, this is years. This is since the beginning of time that we haven't had anything that we call our own. So I'm more excited about the fact that the uprisings are causing us to look deeper into building and giving back into our own societies. So as much as things may get damaged and people might have to, rebuild and stuff, it's a good starting point for us to just come back and give back to our own people. So I can't be mad at it.
That was such a beautiful response. And yeah. Can we hear from Deja?
To basically piggyback off of what Cameron said, like, I feel as though this was needed. Like, it was bound to happen. I mean, you have so many people who are upset about the justice system, who's upset about policing, who's upset about being the way they're being treated. Like, for me, for example, this will be short. I work at this hospital and I valet park for the Women's and Children's Center. Long story short, they have me working in the evening. So I'm working like 2 to 10 p.m. That's basically my whole day. So once this curfew came, I had to let her know, like, I'm going to need a paper or something. Mind you, during COVID, we were supposed to have these papers stating that we're essential workers. Never got them. So, and until my mom called and to let them know, like, my daughter, she's not going to work if she doesn't have those papers. Go to find out someone was pulled over, even with the essential workers papers. It didn't matter, and they didn't understand the fact that, like, I'm an African American girl, and yes, I can get pretty slick at the mouth. So I don't want any possible reason for anyone to feel as though I'm coming at them or I'm being aggressive or anything. So, like, I had to change my hours, and she wasn't with that, so I had to call HR. She changed everything. Like, when I tell you I had papers that day with my name on it, she changed my hours. I wasn't getting off at 10 o'clock. I was getting off at 7. Everything completely changed because she figured as though I wasn't going to do nothing about it. She could possibly bully me into going back to work because she feels like, okay, she's a young girl. She needs to work. She needs the money. So she's going to work and do whatever. No. So I say this to say, it's definitely, it goes on at work. It goes on at school, especially. A lot of people overlook just the wrongdoing. A lot of women, African American women, African American men, all the things that we go through, a lot of people overlook that or want to feel as though it doesn't happen, or we're being treated as the same way as any other race or whatever. And that's just it's just a lot. So I feel like everything, the rioting, the protesting, everything is worth it. It's happening. And it's just worth it. This is the only way we can get our voices heard without anyone feeling as though we're less educated or we're just being loud. So, yeah.
Ariella, it's Miss Moody. Can I go?
Yeah, for sure.
Thank
Please.
you. So speaking of slick at the mouth, hi, Deja. My response, and hi, Cameron. Thank you, ladies, for being here. My response to the uprisings is very similar to what everyone else is saying, that it's terrible what has happened, but the fact that we are here, like literally and figuratively, that we are here, because on smaller versions of what Deja just described happens in our schools, not only in our Chicago public schools, but it's happened at Alcott. And I am here because I want all of us, myself, teachers and staff included, to hear these stories so that we can be those people for you that you need to be able to hear you, to see you, and support you. So as heartbroken as I am that these things have been happening in the world, I want to use it as an opportunity to be able to create this space to make Alcott better for you. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Moody. Thank you for speaking out. Is there anyone else who didn't speak last week who wanted to say something about the uprisings? Or no, we're good? Okay. Okay, Ms. Moody, we can move on to the next line.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, now we will have Mr. Baez. He will be discussing and talking about his experiences working with Mike Brown's family. Welcome, Mr. Baez.
Hello. Yeah, so last week when I heard about the panel, that the panel was gonna happen, I was like, man, I was like, there's a lot of things going on between the Black and Brown community. That they were going against each other, they weren't really working together, and I was like, man, it's not fair, because I've put in so much work, especially when this all first started. So I don't know if many of you guys know, but Black Lives Matter movement started back in 2013 with the Trayvon Martin case. And at that time, I was still an undergrad. And I remember, for those of you who don't know, my undergrad was in justice studies. So the Trayvon Martin thing came about, and we were talking about it in class. And then the opportunity came to do some work at the United Nations building in Switzerland, Geneva. And I took the opportunity. I took the opportunity because I wanted to get more informed. I wanted to know what I was doing, what I can do to not only support, the Black community, but also my community. And I felt that it was my mission as a young college student to do what I can to bring these social issues to light. So during my time in Switzerland, Geneva, I went to a bunch of panels where the United States was being pretty much attacked by other countries in terms of torture and inhumane punishment, war laws, and whatnot. But the biggest highlight of my whole trip was that I spent time with Mike Brown's parents. For those of you who don't know, Mike Brown was a teenager who was shot by a white cop in Ferguson. If you don't know about Ferguson, Ferguson is a community or a town where people are pretty much held through oppression, right? That place is somewhere where, their main source of revenue is giving people tickets and locking people up. So they have a really high crime rate over there for those simple things. And Mike Brown was was a teenager who was shot by a cop. There was a lot of misinformation thrown around from him. The officer was not charged with any crimes. And not only that, but his body was left in the street for almost 4 hours in the middle of the street with the public just looking at it, So there was when Mike Brown's parents came to Switzerland, they testified against the U.S. on the Convention on Torture and Inhumane Punishment within the U.S. And one of the experiences that I have, and as you can see the picture there, that was one of the press conferences that we had outside of the United Nations building. But one of the key highlights that we had was that the Black Lives Matter organization that was there, it's never been done before, but they protested inside the United Nations Convention during the United Nations Convention. So as we stood with our hands proud, we were not kicked out, but they did take our names down. So anytime I go into a United Nations building, they will be telling me that, I cannot protest, I cannot follow anything, or I can't do any of the things that I did when I was in Switzerland. So yeah, my name is in the national database for the United Nations. And not to get too lost off of this, I guess the whole idea behind me supporting the Black Lives Matter movement is because listening to Leslie, which is Mike Brown's mom, when I remember sitting down in a room as we were waiting to talk with her lawyers and to talk with the United States panel with all the other countries in there. And I remember her saying that although justice isn't being served with the cop, she knows that she's going to do everything possible for her kid. And that just made me, I mean, I don't know. I'm not much of a crier, but that's one of the things that made me tear up that time, was just being able to have a one-on-one with his mom, and know that all the struggles that they go through in Ferguson is pretty much why she's there. So yeah, that was my experience, why I've always been involved with the Black Lives Matter movement, why as a brown Latino I will always support the Black community. I still do, I always will. And for anyone who says that browns are against Black or Blacks are against brown, I just want to knock that out and say that that's not true. As there are very few people that are very ignorant out there, so we just need to know how to channel out the ignorance from what needs to be looked at. I'm done.
Thank you, Mr. Bias. That was amazing. Can we, if people have questions for Mr. Bias, can they ask them right now?
I am open to any questions.
This is Ms. Moody. I have a question. It's two parts. Mr. Baez, where did you go to college? And does that college or university still have opportunities like that for students should they want to be an activist?
Yes. So I went to Northeastern Illinois University. They do still have the Justice Studies program. I'll tell you right now, a lot of the reasons why students pick that degree is because they want to be a police officer, which is not like the reason why I did it. But you can definitely go there. Northeastern Illinois University does have one of the best Justice Studies programs I enjoyed it a lot. They do collaborate a lot with other universities across seas. And I believe that, I know the first trip that we had to Switzerland, Geneva, that was the first time it's ever been done at Northeastern, and they've been doing it every year since. So that is an opportunity available still, I believe, for all students who want to go there.
Thank you.
Ms. Clickbay wants to say something. Thank you, Mr. Bias.
No problem.
Yes, I just wanted to add that, hold on, my mic fell out. I just wanted to add to what he said about the Justice Studies program. Northeastern does have many opportunities for students to either study abroad. I had the opportunity to study abroad in Cuba last summer, and I was able to learn about the injustices and the colorism, just a lot of things that happens in Cuba. They also have alternative spring breaks, and one of them was going to Alabama and doing advocating for racial equality. So Northeastern also has a lot of opportunities to go to different countries as well, so that is still an option. I also had the privilege of taking the Justice Studies class this last semester, and it was amazing. It taught about how policing in Black communities happen and to know your rights. We learned about our rights. One of the professors was an ex-police officer and sergeant. So she taught us on things like that. So it is an excellent program at Northeastern. I just wanted to add that.
And I just want to add one last piece about Northeastern. One of my professors was actually a convicted ex-felon who was acquitted from death row. For just a little background of him, he was a vice lord back in a very back day, and that's just a type of program that runs at Northeastern. Like, you have people with experience, and a gentleman who was once on death row is now teaching college students about policing, about the justice system, about gangs. Like, it's ironic, but at the same time, you're getting firsthand experience from somebody who's lived it all, especially from the 80s and 90s when things were pretty rough. So, good school to go to, and cheap.
Thank you, Mr. Bias.
Inexpensive.
Hilarious. Oh, thank you, Ms. Cookday and Mr. Baez. Are there any questions in the chat? No? Okay. Can we move to the next slide, Ms. Moody, please? Oh, that's you. That's yours.
Okay. So, before we begin, this is a warning that this video contains explicit language. This video is, I'm sure many of you have seen it, but we wanted to play it because in all of the things that I've seen on social media, she really breaks it down. So hang on one second. Let me log on real quick. I was not prepared to have to do that. I hope that's it. All right. No. Sure, not now. Bye-bye. Okay. All right. Let me go back. Let me come here.
The commentary about we should not be rioting, we should not be looting, we should not be tearing up our own communities. And then there's been an argument of the other side of we should be hitting them in the pocket. We should be focusing on the blackout days where we don't spend money. But I feel like we should do both. And I feel like I support both. And I'll tell you why I support both. I support both because when you have a civil unrest like this, there are three types of people in the streets. There are the protesters, there are the rioters, and there are the looters. The protesters are there because they actually care about what is happening in the community. They want to raise their voices, and they are there strictly to protest. You have the rioters who are angry, who are anarchists, who really just want to fuck shit up, and that's what they're going to do regardless. And then you have the looters. And the looters almost exclusively are just there to do that, to loot. Now, people are like, well, what did you gain? Well, what did you get from looting? I think that as long as we're focusing on the what, we're not focusing on the why. And that's my issue with that. As long as we're focusing on what they're doing, we're not focusing on why they're doing. And some people are like, well, those aren't people who are legitimately angry about what's happening. Those are people who just want to get stuff. Okay, well then, let's go with that. Let's say that's what it is. Let's ask ourselves why in this country in 2020, the financial gap between poor Blacks and the rest of the world is at such a distance that people feel like their only hope and only opportunity to get some of the things that we flaunt and flash in front of them all the time is to walk through a broken glass window and get it. That they are so hopeless that getting that necklace, getting that TV, getting that change, getting that bed, getting that phone, whatever it is that they're going to get, is that in that moment when the riots happen and if they present an opportunity of looting, that's their only opportunity to get it. We need to be questioning that why. Why are people that poor? Why are people that broke? Why are people that food insecure, that clothing insecure, that they feel like their only shot, that they are shooting their shot by walking through a broken glass window to get what they need. And then people want to talk about, well, there's plenty of people who pulled themselves up by their bootstraps and got it on their own. Why can't they do that? Let me explain to you something about economics in America. And I'm so glad that as a child, I got an opportunity to spend time at Push where they taught me this, is that we must never forget that economics was the reason that Black people were brought to this country. We came to do the agricultural work in the South and the textile work in the North. Do you understand that? That's what we came to do. We came to do the agricultural work in the South and the textile work in the North. Now, if I right now decided that I wanted to play Monopoly with you, and for 400 rounds of playing Monopoly, I didn't allow you to have any money. I didn't allow you to have anything on the board. I didn't allow for you to have anything. And then we played another 50 rounds of Monopoly, and everything that you gained and you earned while you were playing that round of Monopoly was taken from you. That was Tulsa. That was Rosewood. Those are places where we built Black economic wealth, where we were self-sufficient, where we owned our stores, where we owned our property, and they burned them to the ground. So that's 450 years. So for 400 rounds of Monopoly, you don't get to play at all. Not only do you not get to play, you have to play on the behalf of the person that you're playing against. You have to play and make money and earn wealth for them, and then you have to turn it over to them. So then for 50 years, you finally get a little bit and you're allowed to play. And every time that they don't like the way that you're playing, or that you're catching up, or that you're doing something to be self-sufficient, they burn your game. They burn your cards. They burn your Monopoly money. And then finally at the release and the onset of that, they allow you to play and they say, okay, now you catch up. Now at this point, the only way you're going to catch up in the game is if the person shares the wealth, correct? But what if every time you share the wealth, then there's psychological warfare against you to say, oh, you're an equal opportunity hire. So if I played 400 rounds of Monopoly with you and I had to play and give you every dime that I made, and then for 50 years, every time that I played, if you didn't like what I did, you got to burn it like they did in Tulsa and like they did in Rosewood. How can you win? How can you win? You can't win. The game is fixed. So when they say, why do you burn down the community? Why do you burn down your own neighborhood? It's not ours. We don't own anything. We don't own anything. Trevor Noah said it so beautifully last night. There's a social contract that we all have, that if you steal or if I steal, then the person who is the authority comes in and they fix the situation. But the person who fixes the situation is killing us. So the social contract is broken. And if the social contract is broken, why the fuck do I give a shit about burning the fucking Football Hall of Fame, about burning a fucking Target? You broke the contract when you killed us in the streets and didn't give a fuck. You broke the contract when for 400 years we played your game and built your wealth. You broke the contract when we built our wealth again on our own, by our bootstraps in Tulsa, and you dropped bombs on us. When we built it in Rosewood and you came in and you slaughtered us. You broke the contract, so fuck your Target. Fuck your Hall of Fame. As far as I'm concerned, they could burn this bitch to the ground. And it still wouldn't be enough. And they are lucky that what Black people are looking for is equality and not revenge. The commentary about we should not be rioting, we should not be looting.
So Leslie Jones, I'm sorry, Kimberly Jones. Yeah, I'm just gonna hand it back over to you, Ariel.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just had to take a breather after that.
Well, you can.
Powerful. No, I'm good. So yes, now we're gonna talk about how you can be an ally, what is Black and Brown unity, and what actions and steps you have taken and why. We will first be hearing from Frida.
So the things that I've been doing to be an ally is signing petitions. Sign as many petitions as you can, because it's a way to show your voice and see how many people agree with you. and send it to family and friends so that they could sign it also. Like, these petitions are helping so much by like showing people how they want to help. Even if you can't go to the protest, this is helping so much. And if you can't go to the protest, please go. Also being an ally, checking up on people that you know this is affecting by just saying, how are you doing? Do you need help with anything? How's your situation right now? That helps them so much. And like just asking how they're doing is great. Like that's enough to be an ally. Post in social media stuff, post how to get food, post the marches that are happening or protests that are happening right now so people could be informed. That's it.
Thank you, Frida. Can we hear from Mariana?
Okay, so to add on from what Frida said, I also agree with what she said, but I want to give out the definition of ally as well so people understand what it means. An ally is a person who is willing to act with and for others in pursuit of ending oppression and creating equality. So ways you can help out being an ally: you can donate to organizations that try to fight for laws that help with racial issues. You can go to protests, and if you are a person who is white, use your white privilege and go in front of the line so you can help the people of color. And then you can sign petitions, you can educate your family and friends so they understand what's happening, and you can post about the movement. You don't have to protest to be an ally or support. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Now we will hear from our staff members. Can we hear from Mr. Beck first?
Yeah. Hi, guys. So, in regards to being an ally, I think the first thing that white Americans need to recognize is that white supremacy is alive and well. And I hear a lot of comments from other white people that say, wow, things are getting really bad. It's like, no, things have been bad for 400 years, and you're just now seeing the effects of this. But as far as being an ally and supporting the Black Lives Matter movement, locally in Chicago, we're pushing for something called the Civilian Police Accountability Council. It'd be people from communities elected to supervise what police officers are doing. And it's people from every community that polices the police to hold them accountable for their actions. Yeah, I mean, I could go on and on about this, but I also think that it's time in the United States for once for white people to listen to people of color and just shut up and listen. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Beck. That was great. Can we
I have a question for Beck.
What's
hey,
up?
Beck, how can we get involved with that if we wanted to, with that policing?
CPAC?
Yeah.
So you can actually go, I can put in the website in the chat. There's actually aldermen who support it in city council, and I have a list of aldermen who support it actually right now. I'll put that link in the chat. And if you don't see your alderman from city council on that list, your job should be to ask, why don't you want to hold police officers accountable? And pressure them and say, well, if you're not willing to do it, then next election, I'll find someone who will.
Yeah,
I'm going to put that link in the chat right now. 1 second.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea, especially for everybody who lives in different communities, to definitely reach out to your aldermen, because they are, you know, technically your voice within your community. And if they're not supporting, then they shouldn't be in office.
Thank you, Mr. Beck and Mr. Bias. Can we hear from Ms. Gonzalez?
Okay, so I made a few notes, so I will try to get through them as swiftly as possible, so bear with me. Um, so for number 4, how can you be an ally? I think one of the biggest things that I'm learning by speaking to my Black friends and peers is they are exhausted, and they are just, currently, I saw a meme I think that fits it best perfectly. Like, imagine, how exhausting it is to have to understand and learn about racism, but understanding that is not at all having to it be a lived reality every single day. And so one of my friends explained, like, it's difficult for me, as much as I want to share my experiences and things I've been through, right? Having to do all this work over and over and over again, because it definitely, when people are delving into these experiences and these memories that they have, it's difficult for them. And so one of my friends was like, listen, you guys are full grown adults. The research is there. The books are there. You guys can have those conversations. You can look things up. You can learn about things. You can read about history, right? Like, we don't make us have to do all of the work for you. Like, it's getting to the point where these are things that are just becoming way too excessive, and we're just putting more on our Black friends. And I think that they're just tired as it is. To be an ally, I think it means using your platform, whatever that may be. It could be maybe you are someone in your family who has a different political mindset. You are someone in your family who may be in an interracial relationship and it's not accepted. It could be several things where you are able to have these tough conversations and make yourself uncomfortable and make others uncomfortable by truly being an ally. I think another thing that I think about for number 5, when I think about Black and Brown unity, I've seen, unfortunately, some people in the Latinx community taking attention away and explaining, like, we're struggling too. Some of us are undocumented. We have kids in cages, we're, et cetera. And that does not mean that none of those things aren't true. We understand that is valid, but that is not a discussion right now. And we are not trying to undermine this movement. And I think that when that happens, it's very difficult. I also have to say that there's a lot of things in the Latinx community that people are not focusing on, such as colorism in our own communities, right? Check your own privilege. When you are a white passing Latina or Latino, it is a different experience than those that are Afro-Latino, and people need to check that. And unfortunately, right, people are not understanding those realities, and that is disappointing to me to see in my own community. However, I have seen beautiful things from my community as well. And so I don't want to, I think it's a learning experience, obviously, because obviously we are marginalized communities. We have struggles. And instead of saying, I have it worse, you have it better, this is why this sucks for me, it's more about, let's just support each other. Let us not forget, as Puerto Ricans, that we have Black blood flowing all through our veins. And that is 100% facts. And so I feel that although I may be a white passing Latina, right, I have cousins that are much darker than me, that people think are Black fully, and their struggles are different than mine. And these are the realities. I think also one of the things that, as far as number 6 for action steps and what we have taken, I'm a full-grown adult, so I spend my money where it needs to be spent. Even more than I have in the past, and this is something that I recognize I have not done as best as I can, supporting Black-owned businesses, supporting Black-owned Etsy shops, supporting Black-owned bakeries, supporting Black-owned restaurants, using that platform as a teacher to continue to spread awareness and to teach my students and use my voice as best as I possibly can. To use my platform as one of the only people in my family with a college degree and somebody who maybe might know a little bit more about this stuff, and helping to have these tough conversations with family members, especially those of older generations. And I think that voting deliberately, right? Researching candidates, doing the work. Unfortunately, none of these things may be easy and simple, but if you want to call yourself a true ally, you're not going to be upset about a Target burning down. You're going to be upset about Black people being killed every single day. So I think that when we find ourselves in these situations, it's hard because we get heated and we get upset, and we definitely don't want to make it seem like we're fueling flames, but these are impassioned things that we care about, and that passion comes out. It does. And it's okay if sometimes you get a little worked up. We need to let these things out. And I second Mr. Beck at all times. We have to listen and pay attention. I do not want to see another single post about someone being upset about an auto zone that got burned down. billion-dollar companies are not suffering right now. This is not the focus. So with that being said, I've talked a lot. I'm so sorry. I love you all. I'm so proud of all of you. Okay, the end.
Oh, my mama, let me say this real quick. Let me get on my zone real quick. We got the best teachers at Alcott. No cap. Hey, shout out to my teachers on the game. Oh, this look. Hey, to y'all upcoming freshmen. Hey, shut up. Hold on. Hey, stop. For real. You're being disrespectful, bro. Stop. Anyway, I'm sorry. That was my brother. But like upcoming freshmen and stuff, if you haven't had Ms. G and Mr. Beck yet, like you're gonna love them. I just want to say that real quick. But yes, Deja wanted to say something, so can we hear from her now?
Yes. I believe it was either my sophomore year. This is when we had an African American dean of students. I think he's like dean of students. I forgot what his name was. It's been that long. I remember I was telling him, I was talking about college, and I was talking about HBCUs and everything. This is one statement I'll never forget him ever telling me. He was like, "Why would you want to go to Spelman? You're too good for that." That right there.
That was Mr. Evans, the security officer. Yes.
That right there. No, it was the bald head guy with the glasses. We said his head like a milk dud. We used to say that.
Okay, forget it. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, he told me that, and I was like, I'm too good. At first, I thought to myself, and I was like, I'm too good. No, that's part of my family. They're like, go to HBCUs. This is what you want to do. Long story short, number 4, how do I become an ally? I went to an HBCU for 4 years. I'm an alumni now. I graduated. And when I tell you it was my best experience, I'm so glad I went to an HBCU. I learned so much more about my people. And even just to be surrounded around African American people who are on the same level as you, it just feels so good. And a lot of people might not be able to understand that, but I really didn't understand it till I actually started going to classes and I actually started being involved in the different extracurricular activities on campus and off. And I have so much. I went to North Carolina A&T State University down in Greensboro, North Carolina. And when I tell you guys, we have so much history. If you guys look at the Greensboro 4 and look up the Greensboro 4, you guys, there's the sit-in diner and everything. We still have all of those monuments downtown. And when I tell you we learned about all of those things when it comes to English class, when it comes to my history class, we have a history on A&T. Like, it's just so much history on HBCUs that I feel like a lot of people ignore. And even when it comes to funding as well, like no one wants to fund the HBCU. We're underly funded. That's what they say about us. But it all counts about like the boosters and the alumni, things like that. That's what helps a university, and people don't understand that. So I said this to say, any of you African American students who are here, please look into HBCUs. Don't listen to anyone when they say they're underfunded, you won't learn nothing. Don't listen to that. And every college is different, and you may not like one college for certain things, some people may not like it for different things, but it all depends on you. All depends on the person. Number 5, I actually am starting my own business, a lip scrub business. So support Black businesses, guys. And my mom also sells cookies. If you guys want some cookies, peanut butter and sugar cookies, schoolhouse ones. But yeah, I just been supporting Black businesses a lot more than I have. When I say Target was my favorite store, oh no, I found me a little hole in the wall down here that I go to now, and I get like my little Dove products and everything just single, like I guess discounted or whatever. But it's a good place to spend my money because it's Black owned. And honestly, you may think that what your Shea Moisture, not Shea Moisture, but your Cantu and all these other different products that they say are Black owned, are for Black girls, and don't listen to it. It's not true. And I can also send you guys like a little link, whatever, of like all the Black owned hair companies and things like that. And number 5, what action steps have I taken? I actually went to a protest on Sunday. It was really hot and intense, but I did walk a couple miles, and it was just interesting seeing how like the police was just so afraid, and it was just so weird because being from the Midwest and then coming down here and doing something like this, it's different, y'all. When I tell y'all it's really different. I remember doing the protest for 515 when we were in high school. That was I don't know, I just felt like that environment was more welcoming, a little bit more open. But here it's like we have the KKK down here, and it's really different. Like when I tell you, in my neighborhood type. So yeah, and you just feel like you can't say what you want to say. You feel like you're gonna offend someone. You feel like you're just gonna step on too many toes. And me being from the city, I talk fast, I talk loud. I'm here. And that comes off as offensive to a lot of people down here because they're so used to women being so quiet and not being assertive and not being in leadership positions. So when I was working at my school, that's what I had a lot of problems with. The guys were getting mad because I was more assertive than what they were. And I was basically to get into business before they were. And I was just, I was just a little bit ahead of them. And they didn't like that. They felt as though a woman, that's intimidating. So it's really different coming from the Midwest and then coming all the way down to the South. It's really different, but it was a learning experience. Definitely a learning experience. And I'm definitely glad that I got a chance to learn how to conform to different places. So yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deja. Yeah, to iterate what Miss V said, send your links to your businesses and stuff. We'll definitely support for sure. Thank you. Can we hear from Natalie?
Oh yeah. I think Zanae wanted to go first.
Oh no, if you want to go before me, that's fine.
No, you could go ahead so you don't forget, because I know what I'm gonna say.
Okay,
So
we do this all the time.
Just go.
So speaking of supporting Black businesses and all of that, I realized that during all the protests and all the riots that I did want to support the Black Lives Matter movement, and I was broke like always. So if you know me, you know that I bake. I do it all the time. I started a fundraiser, so everything that I make for a week is free, and then people leave tips, and the tips I donate. And so far, we've raised like about $600 in total.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's just how I ended up doing that. But if you have a talent or something you can showcase or make profit from, then definitely use that. Definitely. Okay, that's it.
Can you put your information in the chat, please, Danae? So that, are you still doing that, or has that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Put that info in there for us.
I'm just interrupting because I really do mean you guys put it in the chat. I'm going to copy and paste all this stuff to our resources. So if you have stuff or it comes up later, send it to us.
Natalie?
Okay, so yeah, guys, go support Zanae and any other Black-owned businesses. But I will be answering question number 5. So what is the Black and Brown unity? Is to grow unity between Black and Brown people. It emphasizes the similar forms of oppression we confront under white supremacy. And I feel like this just takes us back to like Jim Crow laws and all of this. But connecting back to what Ms. G said, being part of the Latinx community, there is people that pass as white. And I feel like starting with that, you need to accept the fact that you're like white passing and you don't have the same type of oppression. Well, you might have the similar oppression, but compared to an Afro-Latino, and it's really different. And I also feel like with the being part of the Latinx community, I also seen people talking about, well, we have kids in cages, this and that. And I feel like with that whole thing, you just like putting away that there's something more important going on, like with the Black Lives Matter. But yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Natalie. Is there, I'm looking at the chat. No? Okay. Can we hear from Frida?
Yeah. So I think that Natalie and Miss G explained it beautifully. I really like what they said. And like speaking on the behalf of the Latinx community, that is really true. A lot of people are really white passing, and they don't understand that even if you are a Latino, you still have a little, not more privilege, but you are passing. You are more white passing. And like the Afro Latino community, they're not more oppressed, but they have more, like, it's not harder, but their oppression is not easy, I guess, to understand. But Miss G and Natalie really explained it, like said all that I wanted to say, and I think that they did like a beautiful job explaining what I wanted to say.
Thank you, Frida. Mariana wanted to say something.
I agree with there is passing white Hispanic or Latinx, and I am one white passing white Hispanic. So I agree with we try to come together for this like movement, and it's Black Lives Matter. We are supposed, like, how did I explain it? Sorry. Um I said, like, I think it's time for us to like step up and show our solidarity and support. Like, we need to listen and advocate for them, and like educate ourselves, and we need to learn, and we need to act. Like, the Black community should not have to fight this battle alone.
Thank you. I'm looking at the group chat. Anyone else want to speak on one of these three questions? Or more than one? Yeah, Ms. Mendez, sure. Go ahead.
Hi. Yeah, I just wanted to speak to number 5 as well. Like this, I agree with what everybody is saying. And just to reiterate, like, to the Latinx community, this is not the time to talk about the struggles that the Latinx community has, because yes, there are struggles, but that's not what this is about. And it's when I hear people from the Latinx community talking about, well, you know, we have struggles too, and you know, this system isn't made for us as well. Like, I equate it to, and I don't know if this is going overboard, but I equate it to when I hear people say all lives matter. Like, yes, we have struggles, but it's not what it's about. It's about listening and learning and supporting, and supporting others. And so it's like this, yeah, I just wanted to reiterate that, like, it's not about that. This is a time to listen and learn and support. So that's all.
Thank you, Ms. Mendez. Is that it? Everyone did a great job, honestly. I'm loving it.
Hey, Ariel, it's Moody. Can I add something, or is it time? Do we have to go? Do we still have people?
You can go. You can go.
Okay.
You're the only one. Go ahead.
Okay. So
Shu also has something. Sorry.
Pardon?
Shu also has something.
Go on.
Call him next. I just like to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. Go ahead. I'd rather everybody else go than me. Go ahead.
Go, Shu.
Oh, okay. Hello. I just wanted to speak a little bit from the heart. I just wanted to say, like, I've been struggling a lot because just like with the Latinx community, and I just want to speak because sometimes my community tends to stay silent. And so I just want to speak because of that. I believe the Asian American community, as people of color, owe everything to the civil rights movement and owe everything to Dr. King, Malcolm X, and many of the other activists from the Black community. And we owe many of, like, the privileges that we enjoy and the equality that we have gained to them. So I just wanted to say that. The other thing I wanted to say is our histories are actually really similar. I want to speak. Oftentimes, people who don't like us or are white supremacists like to pit people of color against each other. And I just want to say that, like, they like doing that. And they're going out of time that we should be divided in whatsoever, in any shape or form. We should be standing together. And they try to do it. And I'll just say this, they do have some success, because I've heard some things within the Asian community that have not been pretty, right? And I have to, oftentimes explain, and sometimes it makes my head hurt, because I'm like, someone is doing something that is pulling the strings to divide us when we really need to be together. And so I just want to know that I want the Black community to know that there are many people in the Asian community that are woke. And I just want you to know that, and that there are many that are standing for Black Lives Matter and are fighting alongside and will speak when those injustices like occur and when they see those injustices occur. And I just want to say one small story, and then one plea as well. There's one small story when the tragic murder of Eric Gardner, when that happened, and I was, and the riots happened, and there was a Chinese reporter that was like, trying to do his job and reporting on the scene. And when the rioters came over and like they like chased, the reporters away, and then as they were about to beat him up, they were like, no, wait. He's one of us. Right? And he wrote a piece about that, and it was really powerful. And I just have one small plea to just any of you who have influence within the Black community. Many in the Asian community really want to stand with you all. And the small plea is, when rioting occurs, like just please, if there is a realization that it is an Asian-owned business, please, we would love to stand with you. Just that's my only plea. And just know that I do stand for Black Lives Matter. And so if you have influence in that realm, that's my plea. It would make my job so much easier if Asian businesses were not hit. It would make my job so much easier, and I could just be like, hey, like, we are people of color, we need to stand together. That is my plea. Thank you for allowing me to speak, and that's all.
Thank you, Mr. Shu. Ms. Moody, you can just have Courtney.
Thank you. Mr. Shu, you're wonderful. Thank you so much. And all of our teachers and staff and alums, and our amazing facilitator, Ariel, thank you all very much. I think what I want to do is just make sure that this conversation, that the momentum does not stop. Today, during our staff meeting, I asked our teachers to commit to joining us for a book club over the summer where we read a book to learn more about race and what race means in schools, so that we can commit to being better allies. And I think for me, in steps and what it means to be an ally for question number 4, number 5, and number 6, for me, it's what I'd like to see for myself and everyone else is that we be upstanders and not bystanders. That when something is said, that we address it and we correct it. When something is wrong, that we say something and we step up. And I know it's difficult for us as adults. I can only imagine how difficult it is for students. Well, not those of you guys who are here today. So like, I've seen Ariel defend people. I've seen Natalie defend people. I've seen Zanae defend people. You guys are wonderful. And I think as our underclassmen, as you all get older and develop some more confidence and get some more opportunities under your belt, I trust that we will see that from you all as well. And so I think for me, that's what it is that I'd like to see, is that everybody, that's how people are allies, is to stand up and to say something if you see something. So that's my piece.
Ms. Moody,
Thank you, Ms. Moody. Yeah, we're moving on to the. Go ahead, Dr. Break. I was going to tell her about the resources.
You already jumped ahead to it. Thank you, Ariel. You want to go ahead and just say the slide, and I'll just stay in the chat. You were about to say it anyway. That's all I wanted to say.
No, I was going to tell Ms. Moody that we were going to talk about the resources. That's her slide.
Do your thing.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, yeah. So just to make sure that we're on the same page here, Musmudi, you just like segued great into it, and Ariel, you were already on it. I just wanted to say that we compiled a bunch of resources that we wanted to share with everybody. I already put them in the chat. It's ways that folks can get involved locally, ways that people can get involved, in their neighborhoods, but also things you can do to learn more, to be an ally, to have some good readings over the summer that are, affirming to you, and also like self-care resources, right? Because these are stressful times. And so we try to compile a bunch of stuff, from ways to get involved to ways to take care of yourself, that we will share in the chat here again and again. And then we'll also definitely make sure to get it out to the whole student body for the folks who are not able to attend today. But I just wanted to make a plug for that. The resources are listed here. Those are kind of the main 4 categories that are on the slides right there. And everyone should have access to them. That's all I wanted to say. And also, I love you all, and you're fabulous.
Break, can you put them in the chat one more time? Because I'm taking my sweet time, and that way people see them.
Yep, there they are.
Thank you. Everybody, we'll have Ariel maybe close us out when we're done. If anybody else wants to say anything, you guys are unbelievable. You made this lady cry, but everything makes me cry. But no, you guys were really great. So I'm gonna let Ariel close us out if she wants. If there's anything else she wants to say, or if anybody else wants to say anything. Deja looks like she does.
If you guys have any questions about like college or HBCU, I am a first generation college student. It wasn't easy, but I did it on my own. A little bit of mama help, but not so much. Because she really didn't know how things, went when it came to financial aid and things like that. So if anybody has any questions, I am willing to help. If you want to know anything about student life or just about, I'm a kinesiology student. I graduated with a bachelor's in kinesiology. So if anybody's interested in the health field, I have books, I have all this information and resources that I'm willing to give to you guys for free. So yeah, just let me know.
Thank you, Deja. Yeah, Danny, you can add something in the chat, or do you have something to say?
Something to say.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna do an all call email to the juniors. If you guys are interested in like helping clean up, or even pass out like materials and supplies during the protesting, I'm reaching out with other aldermen. One of them is for the 30th ward, Belmont Cregan, so we're gonna be helping organize one. And then he's gonna be buying some supplies as well, which I'm gonna help donate towards. And then if you guys want, Boys and Girls Club is, or I'm working with Boys and Girls Club right now. If you guys would like to help clean up parts of the area, we're gonna go around cleaning areas up, and then making sure any local small businesses have their word reached out.
Thank you, Danny. Mr. Serrato, you have something to say really quick?
Oh yeah, I just wanted to add on real quick that thanks for everybody for putting this together. This was the discussion that was long overdue, and I'm proud of us. I'm proud of the students, proud of the uprising, or the uprisings, and also the rising seniors coming in this fall. But I also wanted to mention that when we use the word uprising, I think it's very appropriate, because I think it's very, very important that we keep this flame going, because I don't want it to die out. And I was there protesting last Saturday at Union Park. We marched all the way to like Old Cabrini Green, and it was a great experience, because looking around me, it wasn't just blacks. It was like there was an Asian couple behind me. There was a lot of white people. There was a lot of Latinos out there. it was just a good mix of people to be out there, and not just seeing blacks out there, going for their own cause, but we all had to like join together in this uprising, and it needs to continue. Everybody needs to pick up the torch at one point and just pass it along, because I think New York's on day 17, day 18. I think we're quite similar as far as protesting days, but we got to keep it going, keep this discussion going, because when we come back in the fall in 2 or 3 months, in a couple months, I think, we can't let this die out. We just got to keep the discussion going. That's it.
I like to say a couple of things. One, in order to continue, I feel like the conversation, it starts with education. I feel like you can never be too overeducated. And I heard this saying once, and it was about arguing with people who are ignorant. So if you argue with the ignorant fool, then you become a fool as well. So my thing is to always, try to stay educated with everything that's going on. The most important thing, or the most thing that I think is powerful to me, is knowledge. And then above that is what you do with that knowledge. So I just want to say, like, no matter what, like, don't be afraid to ask anyone, for help, or seek out new things that keep you educated. Do your research. Just do your research, and then that's at least the starting point or the basis of where you can go from there. And then I don't know if you guys saw this video about this guy's name is Killer Mike, and he did an interview on CNN, and he said that our goal is to plot, plan, strategize, organize, and mobilize. So if we start, at least somewhere with our education, we can hit those other steps, and that can lead us forward and launch us forward into bettering what we want for ourselves. And you can't be what you can't see. So you have to make sure that, you got to start somewhere. It starts with education. Even if you do it outside of school, educate as many people as you can along the way. I just feel like that's all I wanted to say. But like, you can never overeducate yourself. I would rather be overeducated than undereducated. So I just encourage you guys to keep learning, keep being hungry to learn more things, and keep being hungry to learn how we can tackle this. So that's all I had to say.
Thank you, Cameron. I think everyone who wanted to say something spoke. So I will close out. Thank you to all the panelists for being able to come and speak to us today. The alumni, staff, students. Thank you to everyone who was not on the panel, but you were comfortable enough and brave enough to speak. Yes, please donate to all of the resources, or whatever ones that you can donate to, but check out those businesses from Zane and Deja. If you're protesting from here on, please be safe, wear a mask, be aware of your surroundings, keep having these tough conversations with your family and your peers, and to reiterate what Mr. Serrato said, do not let the flame die out. So have a great weekend, everyone, and a great summer.
Thank you, Ariel.
Woo! Thank you guys for having me.
Bye. Thank you
guys.